Well, a new statement from San Francisco State University says the presence of police was excessive and uncalled for at that recent speaking event for NCCA champion swimmer Riley Gaines. The university also says the violence was, quote, spread by Riley Gaines. Gaines shared that statement on Twitter today. She was advocating on behalf of female athletes everywhere while also opposing biological male, also known as men, from participating in women's sports. And then watch what happens next. That's just part of Gaines's point of view. She was attacked by a transgender activist mob, a violent mob of these transgender activists. They were screaming in her face, even punching her. One of the people that punched her was a man. Now, fearing for her safety, local police had to escort her out of the room. She was trapped in that room for hours. You might say that was kidnapping. The Vice President of Student Affairs, Jamala Moore, sent an email to students following the attack. She says in part, quote, "Thank you to the students who participated in the event. It took tremendous bravery to stand in a challenging space. Students demonstrated the right to protest peacefully." Didn't look very peaceful. The university president, Lynn Mahoney, applauds the students, she says, the staff and the faculty who rallied quickly to host alternative inclusive events, protest peacefully, and provide one another with support during a difficult moment. It's so hard to hear someone else's viewpoints. Now, that event that she just mentioned there was a, quote, queer and trans sports mixer hosted by students that felt disappointed by the university's reaction to the Gaines event. The organizers of the sports mixer viewed their event as a, quote, respectful and peaceful response to an event that they saw as an attack on trans people. You saw the video. Who was attacking whom? Now, the assistant director of the Queer and Trans Resource Center, Jeremy Lark, his pronouns are he, him, by the way, highlights the importance of fighting against trans violence. That's what he says. But again, who was committing the violence? The violence we see in that video shows a different story. Riley Gaines being attacked, not these trans students. They continue to blame the victims of violence and whitewash the actions of these aggressors. It's consistent with what we've heard from the White House as well.
LGBTQI+ kids are resilient. They are fierce, they fight back, they're not going anywhere, and we have their back. This administration has their back.
So who has women's back, like Riley Gaines? She joins us now. Riley, great to see you.
So good to see you. Thank you so much for having me on.
It's a pleasure to talk to you. You're an inspiration for, I think, a lot of women athletes and men too. We understand you're having a conversation with the police tomorrow, but what we can't understand, after watching that video several times, is why no one's been arrested yet.
It's something I don't understand either. The administration, you saw how they responded. They applauded these students for their bravery and for listening in such a difficult conversation. I didn't realize expressing how men and women are different is controversial. It shouldn't be controversial. And these students, this administration, even the campus police, I'm of course grateful for all police force, but these campus police did a very poor job of de-escalating the situation and allowing me to safely evacuate the building. We were supposed to meet an hour and a half before the event to go over an exit plan if something of this nature happened, to which the police did not show up. I was barricaded in this room for 3 hours and with no means of safely getting out. On the outside, I could hear them yelling things such as, "Trans rights are under their attack. What do? We fight back." They were trying to negotiate money from me if I wanted to make it home safely. And the dean of students was negotiating with them. There needs to be consequences. These people need to be held responsible because they do this in the disguise of love and compassion and kindness and tolerance. But in reality, that is not what I was met with.
No, and it's what radicals do. Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals: always accuse the other side of what you're actually doing. And we can add extortion now, apparently, to the list of charges in addition to assault and kidnapping. I also wanted to talk about ESPN and their enormous blind spot when it comes to the assault that happened to you. The only person over at ESPN supporting you is Sage Steele. And she's asking, are there any other women with public platforms willing to stand up for Riley Gaines? That's the question I think a lot of us are asking. Where are the women in defense of other women?
This question blows my mind too. Where are the feminists? Where are the women like Billie Jean King who fought for women's rights, and Megan Rapinoe, who was once a powerful voice in advocating for equal pay and equal access and equal resources? Well, I can tell you where both these women are. They're both now actively fighting for women to lose out on these opportunities. Both of these women are now fighting for trans inclusion in women's sports, which the hypocrisy and the double standard and the irony behind it all is so evident. We need powerful women with influential platforms to be willing to stick up for female athletes like Sage has done. She is someone I admire so greatly for her stance, her bravery, and I know how hard it is to go against the grain, but that's exactly what she's done, and it's exactly what we need: more women, more men. We need more people in general to stand up to this, because I know I'm speaking for the overwhelming majority when I speak.
Right. Playing sports is not easy, and especially I know what it's like for swimmers. You guys are up before the crack of dawn every day. You're back at practice in the evening. I mean, if you're a young person, a young swimmer thinking about your future, why would you continue to pursue that if you're not even going to have the opportunity to win down the road? And so it's got to be disheartening to a lot of young girls out there. Also, as it relates to Megan Rapinoe, we can't forget that the U.S. women's national team lost to a 15-year-old men's team once upon a time. So Megan Rapinoe, now that she's done with her career, she can sit back and advocate and get all the accolades for doing so. But young female soccer players are going to be the ones losing out. Also, as it relates to the conversation that we need to have about this, I understand the Vice President of Student Affairs, Jamala Moore, who praised the students for their bravery. She's blocked you on Twitter. That's not very brave.
It's actually almost comical that someone in the position that she's in felt the need to block me. Clearly, it shows she is hiding something. There's something that they don't want to get out. They don't want my voice. I'm so tired of feeling like the freedom of speech is being suppressed, not just from myself, but from conservatives among lots of issues around the country. We deserve the right. We're entitled to the right of our freedom of speech. And when we have these administrations, these universities who are hindering that, it's a clear depiction of what's going on these campuses. These are the people who are educating the next generation. And that's a really chilling thought, that they're teaching them to not have open dialogue. And if you disagree with someone, they're the aggressors. They're the ones who are committing these acts of violence. And it's truly chilling to think of that.
Well, we've shown that video to a couple of law enforcement officials and asked them if they think a crime took place. They think so. We want to wait to see how your meeting goes with the police department. We're going to follow up too, and certainly have some questions for Brooke Jenkins, who's the prosecutor in San Francisco County and San Francisco, to find out why there's been no justice here for you, Riley Gaines. Great to see you. We'll talk soon.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me on.
A pleasure.